Ronaldo in Brazil. Thank you very much. We're going to talk a little bit about the burden of proof. You are on with Johnny and Matt. How can we help?
Hey.
Hi, Matt. Thank you. I appreciate. I live in Brazil, and you have a lot of fans here in my country.
I've heard that, and I really want to come to Brazil someday and meet everybody and hang out. I get asked all the time. Unfortunately, it's not just the pandemic that's keeping me from coming down. There's a lot of other reasons I haven't been there. But please, welcome to the show. How can we help you out?
Okay. In fact, I began to watch your show when I was trying to learn English to improve my pronunciation, my listening, and I turned into atheist because so much I watched your program. I turned out.
Nice.
My question today is because you have an old man called Olavo de Carvalho. He's the guru of our president Jair Bolsonaro, and Jair Bolsonaro some kind imitates your almost ex-president Trump. And he said just last week something like the burden of proof is on the atheist because God was not invented. He is something natural in our society, in our group of men. Then I think they put the atheist like someone who is accusing the theism to be wrong. Then this would switch the burden of proof. I would like to ask you what to think about it. His name is Olavo de Carvalho. What I said was his words, in fact. It's not my words. He said that the burden of proof is on the atheist because it's a religion, some kind of natural. The idea of a God is something natural.
So this is a spiritual advisor to Bolsonaro?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Bolsonaro is a shit stain on the collective consciousness of humanity. But
I tell you, I understand the sentiment here, and it's, you know, I want to make sure that we don't get trapped in the language, because I think the question, the position that's being stated is that because everybody, or because so many people believe in a God and are convinced that they have good reason, that the burden of proof is on the atheist to show that God doesn't exist. That's simply not true. And it's not true for anything, not just, you know, like, for example, if the overwhelming majority of people believed that vaccines cause autism, it's not necessarily up to us to prove that they don't, even though we have. It may just be enough to say your belief that vaccines don't cause autism is in conflict with the available evidence. You haven't made your burden of proof. The truth is, theists, people who believe in a God, are claiming that a God exists, and they have a burden of proof. If an atheist says that God does not exist, that atheist has in fact also adopted a burden of proof, because any positive claim you make, God exists, God doesn't exist, vaccines cause autism, the moon is made of green cheese. It doesn't matter whatever statement. Whenever you make a positive statement, you have adopted a burden of proof. You may not want to meet it, but default atheism, the default atheist position is not, I'm convinced there is no God. It is, I am not yet convinced that there is a God. And so as long as we're talking about that, if that person you're talking to is suggesting that strong atheists, the ones who say there is no God, have a burden of proof, they're right. They do have a burden of proof. So do Christians. For the people who say, I am not yet convinced that Bigfoot is real. I am not yet convinced the Loch Ness Monster is real. I am not yet convinced that fairies are real. I am not yet convinced that a God is real. They don't have a burden of proof because they're not claiming a fact. They are rejecting an assertion for which a burden of proof hasn't been met.
And Ronaldo, what I heard there was that God is a naturalistic explanation. That sounds like a claim to me, unless I heard you wrong.
I think it was that God was natural, which is like an intuitive. People just know God exists.
Yeah.
Nobody invented the theory of God. That's
right.
Why the burden of proof is on the accuser, the atheist. Nobody invented the theory of God. So the burden of proof is on the accuser. He said, it's not what I think doesn't make sense, but I'd like to hear from you, Matt, what you have to say about it.
That is false, even if a God exists, because we know for sure that a human being first conceived of God, even if God exists, because that conception of God, the character, their abilities, and everything else is the concept must evolve, or it must come from a mind. And without demonstrating that it first came from some other mind, Occam's razor demonstrates that we must look at the first mind capable of this level of conception. And it should be some ancestor of the human, of the modern human, that first conceived, hey, I can do things. I can run fast. That person's faster. I can hide. That person's better at hiding. Maybe there's a super person who can do all of these things. But without a time machine, neither one of us are ever going to make any headway there. So it's not just if you said people invented God, you would be adopting a burden of proof. But if you said, I am not convinced that this God is real, how can you demonstrate that this isn't just an invention of human beings? You're questioning. You're not meeting a burden of proof. I hope that clears it up, Ronaldo, but did that help out?
Okay. Yeah, you helped me a lot. Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you, Ronaldo.
I'd like to thank you, all your staff, all your co-hosts that work with you, Don Bay, Tracy, Johnny, etc. I
thank you very much, Ronaldo. That's sweet.
Come to Brazil to debate here. I would like to maybe to learn Portuguese. Maybe it would be better to make a debate here in Brazil.
I don't think I'm going to learn Portuguese sufficiently to do a debate, but if you show up on my Twitch stream sometime, you can catch me playing GeoGuessr. And I like having people from all over the world because I'll be plopped down somewhere in this game. It puts you down in Google Street View and you have to figure out where in the world you are. And I have difficulty sometimes recognizing the difference between Spanish and Portuguese, just like on a street sign. And so it'd be nice to have somebody around saying, hey, I live in Brazil. Your map is in Brazil right now, man.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Ronaldo.